Hello, hello. Welcome to our live session tonight. We're in the Healthy Relationships Sisterhood Facebook group, and we are discussing blocks to intimacy. What are some common blocks to creating healthy intimacy and what to do about them? So if you're just coming in, let me know if you can see me. I'm just checking on my phone to make sure it's working, but I'm going to assume it is. Get my hair out of my face. Hey, people are here. So when you come on, say hello, say where you're from, and I love seeing you here and sharing the space with you. So blocks to intimacy, we're going to talk about a few, keeping it brief tonight. Some blocks that we have to intimacy, which you could think of as connection, right? Creating a deeper connection, are our fears, what we're afraid of would happen if we made a connection. I was just teaching about this tonight. Hey, Lisa, glad it's working. One fear, and I'd love to hear from you, those of you who are here. Hey, Tammy. And you can say where you're from, where you're calling from, or where you're tuning in from when you come in. So one common fear that people have about getting intimate is that they will be rejected in some way, judged or rejected, which are basically two sides of the same coin. Welcome, Shelley. So for those of you who are here, I'm curious to know what is your biggest fear, if you're willing to share it, no pressure to do that, around intimacy, about being intimate. What's your biggest fear that you think could happen, even if it doesn't seem realistic, if or when you get intimate with somebody? So we have rejection. Other people fear that their boundaries may get crossed. So you can say a yes or raise a hand if that's true for you. Hey, Susan, welcome. Great, we got some of the gals from the group, our other group. Rock Your Relationship is in the house. Welcome. So if you're willing to share what some of your common fears are around intimacy, I've mentioned rejection, some kind of judgment or an abandonment. Judgment, rejection, thanks Tammy, or boundaries getting crossed. And so one thing I want to suggest is that for whatever types of fear that you have, especially if you're in a safe relationship where you feel pretty solid, is that you share about your fears. You let your partner know what your fears are. Why do you think that might be important? I see no reciprocation from Shelley. Thank you for sharing that. So why that might be important, abandonment, thank you, Lisa. Why that might be important is because it is an act of connection to share about your fear, to let your partner know something about you, something deep or intimate about you. It's a vulnerable thing to do, is to share what you're afraid of. Abandonment, thank you, Susan. And then Tammy says being controlled or losing autonomy or sense of self. Yes, all of those I think are you're not alone in that, any of you. I was just teaching another class and someone said fear of losing myself, right? Fear of not being in control, fear of like not being here anymore, like somehow the boundary between me and you is gone and I don't know where I am anymore. So that is, it's understandable that could happen. Intimacy is like a merging, right, in a way of our energy. It's a deep kind of connection. There's different kinds of intimacy, of course, so whatever you're thinking of, it's all, it's vulnerable. And so especially if we have had intimacy has been hurtful in the past, it's normal that you would have certain fears that would come up related to that. So fears are one thing that can block our ability to be intimate because when we're afraid of something, we may hold back, right? We may hold back our vulnerability, we may hold back our presence in some way. Another way we might create distance instead of intimacy is around desires, is around not letting the other person know what we truly want or need in the relationship, whether it's around sex or around anything else, food or home or children or anything. So when we express our desires, it can be scary, right? Because again, there could be some fears around our desires not getting met or getting humiliated or ridiculed or judged or abandoned. But if we don't express our desires, how is the other person going to know what we want? So one way we block intimacy is by holding back our truth of what we want and need for ourselves, right? Holding back the expression of our true desire. So the flip side of that is to have the courage to express what you want, whether it's around touch, quality of touch, softer, more firm. Like if you're getting a massage, imagine that. Like if someone's touching you, say you get a massage and you don't tell the massage therapist what you want, right? And they're just like digging into you and you're in pain. You're going, oh, that hurts. But you don't actually let them know. You just kind of tighten up, right? And you bear through it. Then who's suffering? You are, right? Because you didn't express what you want. That's an experience I had recently. We were in Costa Rica and we hired someone who got great reviews, but it was one of the worst massages I ever had. And there was a language barrier, but I did express what I wanted, and then sometimes we have these fears around asking for what we want. Raise your hand if you have fears around asking for what you want because you think you'll be judged as bossy or bitchy or controlling if you ask too much for what you want. Put a hand up or say yes in the comment if that's true for you. So when this massage was happening, it's like, I'm the client, right? I'm the customer. I was paying for it. And I did not like what was happening. Basically, she just went over my back like 100 times this very same way. And I was like, God, how many times is she going to just go over my back? And so I wanted like, how about my arms? How about my legs? Yeah, Shelley, thank you. So I expressed what I wanted and I got some of what I wanted. Hey, Grace. And I also felt myself a little scared, shy. By the way, when you say shy, it really is the same thing as scared. We hold back, right? Because we're scared. So I didn't even know the woman. I was never going to see her again, and yet I still felt some of that stuff coming up around, oh, I don't want to be too controlling, too demanding. But that's unfortunately something that women are, sort of given this bad rap for asking for what they want, where if men do that, they're just being, firm or, they're just standing up for themselves. But if women do it, they just get called demanding or bossy or something. So it's not fair. And, we can start to turn that tide. We can ask for what we want without demanding it. We can ask for it kindly. We can ask for it with, an explanation of why it's important to us. And if we don't ask, we're not likely to get it. So if you want intimacy and you don't let the other person know what you want, it's pretty hard to make a deeper connection. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to move on. So there's desires and there's fears, and I talked about both of those. And then there's also boundaries. And boundaries are like what you don't want, basically, where you have a limitation, where you want to say no to something. And when we have a boundary, but we don't express the boundary, again, how can someone honor the boundary if they don't know what it is or how to respect it, right? So again, we may have some baggage around setting a boundary for various reasons. If you've had early trauma and your boundaries got crossed a lot, if you were not allowed to have a boundary as a child, or if you were touched, improperly, or whether sexually or physically or emotionally harmed, your boundaries may have gotten crossed regularly. So then you didn't learn what a healthy boundary feels like and looks like, and how to exercise healthy boundaries. So you may have some learning to do around, like, what do I want, what feels right for me, what feels safe, and what's unsafe to me. Everybody's boundaries are different. And so they change over time as well. As we evolve, our boundaries evolve. So we want to tune into what those are for us and to express them in ways that they can be heard. So when we don't honor boundaries, we can block intimacy, because sometimes we need to set a boundary in order to create a safe container, a safe space for our intimacy. And a boundary might look like, it's okay to touch me like this, but it's not okay to touch me like that. Or it's okay to touch me in this location, but it's not okay to touch me in that location. And when we do that, we create safety for ourselves. So that's really important, because when we feel safe, we can relax, we can open, we can let go and enjoy intimacy, right? If you want intimacy, there's a certain amount of letting go and to trust and to relaxing that needs to happen. And without that, you're going to have more tension, and it's hard to enjoy a connection, right? You're going to create distance when you have tension or contraction. So I'd love to hear from some of you about any of your thoughts around this, around boundaries, desires, or fears that I've been talking about. If you came in late, of course, the recording will be available. You can watch that. And if you did come in late and you're watching the recording, feel free to make a comment or ask a question, because I will get notification and I will come back and respond to you. Okay. Not seeing any comments or questions. So I don't have a lot more to share right now. I want to keep it brief because we're doing an extra late class tonight. So around boundaries, how to express them, and I'll just share a little bit more in that around, I was talking about how certain people may not have healthy boundaries based on early trauma, based on getting your boundaries crossed a lot when you were younger. So a signpost for you is, if you are in an unhealthy relationship and you express a boundary, the other person might get mad at you, or they might push back a lot against your boundary. That's not a good sign. That's not a sign that your boundary is being honored or respected. So red flag if you expressing a boundary is creating a conflict in your relationship. Now, it may take some getting used to if you have a new boundary that you didn't have before, or the person's not used to having boundaries, right? Sometimes when we have early trauma, we have very few boundaries, very loose boundaries, and sometimes we have a whole lot of boundaries, right, in order to try and keep us safe. So not everyone's used to getting boundaries put on them if they had more loose boundaries, if they've had a lot of kind of freedom and leeway. And it also matters how you express your boundary, right? Is it harsh? Is it mean? Is it rude? Or is it, compassionate? Is it with a desire for connection? And I'm not talking about a situation where you're in danger. Like, if you're in danger, you need to express a hard, fast boundary and be really firm, right? Get out of here, don't touch me, something like that. We're not talking about that right now. If you're in a relationship with somebody who you already feel close to, you feel connected to, and you're needing to express a boundary, hopefully you can do that in a way, maybe not even in the moment, but sometimes you have to do it in the moment when the boundary might get crossed. But other times you want to do it outside of that moment. So you set, you have a safe container to have a conversation when the tension is not high. And I'm going to tune into this comment from Desiree. What if my boundaries conflict with their needs? Exactly. Like, I didn't want them to emotionally dump on me unsolicited, and they said they need to feel like they can express themselves with me. Awesome. I love that you asked that. I just actually talked about that with a couple I was supporting. And it's kind of a thing where both are true, right? They have a need to dump or to just unload, and you have a need to not be dumped on. And they don't always mesh. But sometimes it's a timing thing. So it's really important because you're not a dumping ground and you're not always available to be present for somebody, right? Like, if you've just come home from a hard day, you're not going to be like, hey, just tell me all the crap that happened to you, because you've already had, like, you need some space or whatever it is for you. So boundaries are, it's sort of like putting on our big girl pants and stepping into our adulthood, because we need to ask for that, and we need to have a relationship where that can be honored and respected and trusted, that if not now, when, like maybe later, I'm not available right now, but I'm available at 8 o'clock and I'd be happy to listen to you then. Or I'm available for 10 minutes, but not a half hour, right? And these are healthy boundaries to set, because if you're going to be in connection, you want to do it in a way that feels good to you. You don't want to feel like you're being assaulted. Same question Tammy has. Are there unreasonable boundaries or things we just need to work on not having a boundary about? It depends. Like, if your boundary is limiting your freedom in life, then yeah, you might want to look at that. Like, how many boundaries do you have? How much is it limiting you from feeling ease and connection in your life? So again, everybody's boundaries are different and they can change as you evolve. So as you do your inner work and feel more relaxed and also create healthier and safer relationships in your life, then you probably need less boundaries. Hopefully that makes sense. And you're welcome, Desiree. Hopefully that was helpful. And hopefully that makes sense to you, Tammy. So we're just going to go a few more minutes and then I'm going to sign off. So let me know if there's any other comments. Boundaries is, I know it's a huge topic. It's partly why I have the Rock Your Relationship coaching group, because that's one of our modules where we're going to spend a whole month on boundaries. And I know many of you are in that group, so we're going to get to go deeper. Cool, Tammy. And again, this recording will be available for you to listen back to later. Okay, so we've talked about desires, fears, and boundaries, and the last piece I want to mention that that can be a block to intimacy is not making eye contact. So sometimes we don't make eye contact because we feel scared to make eye contact. So when there's some very early trauma in your life, eye contact may be scary or threatening to you. So I'm saying that as I'm looking into the camera. Practicing making eye contact. So just notice for yourself when eye contact feels comfortable or uncomfortable, and with whom you make more eye contact more than with others. When you feel like you need to stop eye contact, when you're looking and then you decide you need to look away. We all have different capacities for that, but for me it's a place of more connection. So when I want more intimacy, I want more eye contact, right? And I notice that when I'm not making a lot of eye contact, like if Patrick and I are just kind of moving past each other in the house, we're kind of multitasking, a little busy, not really like, hey, I see you, I'm with you, then I feel more disconnected. So when I'm already disconnected, I probably make less eye contact. And if I keep that going by continuing to like make myself unavailable, the distance grows. So if you're noticing distance and you want more connection, I encourage you to get in front of your partner and say, hello, like, I want connection. I want to look at you for a moment. Can we, like what I did this morning, we both kind of, Patrick and I both woke up like not feeling great, did not sleep well, feeling not kind of off. And so we were both like, rah, kind of grumpy and not in our best place. And I noticed that we were doing that kind of moving past each other, both had stuff to do, big day ahead, yada, yada. And at some point I went, and we make a point to greet each other every day, say goodnight to each other. So we have a real solid like place of contact at least once or twice a day. And so I just went over to him and I said, hey, I want to hug. I want to make it, I want to connect with you. I know we both got a lot going on, but let's just arrive here together for a sec. Hello, good morning. I'm with you. I love you. And it was just sweet. It took like 60 seconds to make that contact, and then we were off again doing our thing. So it can make a big difference just to get connected, make eye contact, be present with one another. Tammy, I've struggled with eye contact with many people for years. Some people it's easy, but mostly hard. Well, great noticing, And my sense is that as you continue to work with your nervous system and rewire yourself, unwind some old patterns of tension, you'll feel more ease and you'll feel more relaxed and able to make contact in a way that feels comfortable and safe to you. But don't push it. Definitely don't push yourself to do it if it's uncomfortable. So it's always okay to look away whenever you need a break. If you find yourself, tensions growing from too much eye contact, you just need a little break. That's fine. That's your nervous system saying, I've hit an edge and it's time to look away. No problem. And for people that you're close with, you just might want to tell them about that so they don't take it personally. Some people really love the deep eye contact. Some people, a little less. And so it's good to even have that conversation, like what's comfortable for you. And it's cultural too. Some cultures are really like intimate and they're close and they stand together and they touch each other a lot. And some cultures are like, ooh, they keep a lot of distance and, they don't touch a lot. And then each family system is different. So there's a lot of variables there around connection and closeness and eye contact that we're all working with. Little doses, there you go. Work yourself up. That's called titration. A little bit at a time, a little bit, adding more, taking a break, adding more. So really great to tune into your own system and honor that. All right, everybody. So we're a little over 20 minutes. Just let me know if there's anything else before we finish up the evening together. I love all the communication. Great to see you all. Thanks for sharing yourselves and your comments. And if I don't see anything in a moment, I am going to sign off and go have some dinner. Okay. Thanks for being here, and feel free to anytime, maybe I'll put up a poll or something, but to let me know like what topics you would like to see here. I think I'll do an interview again next week, and I think I may have found out the kinks in the system that didn't let me bring in Sarah last week. I do want to say, and I'll put in a link here, that I believe tomorrow, Friday, November 6th, if you're watching me live or very soon after, is the deadline to join the Skydancing Tantra Immersion that I was teaching about last week with Sarah. I put up some links. There's a 50% off code that you can get if you use my link. And the immersion's been really great. That's where I was teaching earlier tonight. It's a great group. It's about 100 participants from Europe and the US. And the teachings are really rich. Basically, it's meeting, I'm putting the link in right now. Basically, it's meeting 4 Saturdays and for several, 2 or 3 classes on Saturdays. And then there's actually classes Monday through Friday, mornings and evenings. So, and many of them are being recorded and available if you did miss the first week. We started on Halloween. So even if you join late, there's a lot of richness there and really great teachings around intimacy and how to make a deeper connection. So I encourage you to check that out. Use my link and save yourself several $100s. So a few hundred anyway. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here, and look forward to seeing some of you soon. Have a lovely night. Bye for now.